Aloha, everyone. My name is Jason Schwartz. I am here at the Maui Neutral Zone with someone who locally here doesn't need introduction, but for you of the world, this is Dr. Lorrin Pang, who's the head of our Department of Health. And we are in the middle of, just today, we found out we have a new president-elect, President Joe Biden. So it sets a new tone. I'm only announcing that to give you a marker because right here we are blessed. We're in Maui. But we also have things going on in the world. Everyone knows there's this COVID-19, SARS virus, and we're not immune. And I asked Dr. Pang if he would be comfortable. This is his day off. I was just fooling with him. There he is. He's in his t-shirt. I put on a real shirt today. Normally I would wear a t-shirt. I said he's the only guy I know that on his day off goes out and looks for problems and goes and tries to help. Thanks for joining me here today. I know you're very busy. How have you been?
Pretty good. It hasn't been all COVID. You know, we've continued on with a couple of very promising things. Maybe I should talk about those soon or later. Sure. Very promising things. And it's kind of like you said, we didn't look for trouble, but trouble found us a few years ago. And we pursued stuff, and it looks very promising on different fronts. So
well, we should probably
give that
why don't we start with that? That sounds a great place to start.
Okay.
So by the time people listen about COVID, maybe we'll have already given them some promising things to look at past this.
First of all, I'm under the philosophy that in the area of health or medicine, you learn one thing very well, and if you just pay attention, there's many things to apply to the other problem. Okay. Now, I guess in January, this past January, seems like long ago, yeah, just before we shut down, Hawaii shut down, there was an international meeting for rat lung disease in Hilo, because, let me summarize, rat lung disease is a parasitic disease, which it normally, the parasite runs in snails and slugs and rat, snails and slugs, rat. So it just cycles in those two animals, snails, slugs, rat, blah, blah, blah. When humans inadvertently eat the slug, maybe very small slugs or snails, let's just call snails and slugs. When you inadvertently eat them, then you become the part of the rat. And in the rat, normally the parasite goes around through the rat in different stages, obligatory, comes up through the brain, passes down again, swallowed and all, and then gets in the lung. So it's called rat lung because the adults are now in the lung and making eggs, shedding out in the rat poop to be eaten by the slug, going through obligatory cycles. Then humans inadvertently eat the slug and we become the part of the rat, or we become the cycle that the rat should be. When it passes through the rat brain, it passes quietly because rat is used to this parasite in the brain. When it passes through our brain, we attack it ferociously. And in the collateral damage, we cause horrible meningitis. Now, Hawaii has always had this in our snails, but there has recently been, maybe 15 years now, a very, very invasive snail, a slug, the semi-slug. And it kind of dominated East Hawaii, quickly spread to West Hawaii in the blink of an eye, and has come to Hana. And so this slug, it's peridomiciliary. It likes human habitat. It'll eat your cat food, it'll eat your dog food, climb all over your walls. It's not shy to come into your house, dropping from the ceiling, and very, very invasive. And so we've had cases where the humans inadvertently got the slug, the baby parts, and it has caused these horrible, horrible diseases. Some people have died. A lot of people are permanently brain damaged. Any part of the brain is fair game because it's a massive meningitis. And so in East Hawaii, it's really flared up for the last 5 years. And they have these support groups to try to get all the people together once a week by phone or in visitation. And I've gone to some of those support groups, and it's very, very depressing because kind of like the damage you're left with after a year, you're not really going to get better. Some people can't think straight. Some people, their sensation is off. The wind blows and you scream. You feel like you're burning. They obviously can't drive. They've lost their jobs. These are high-powered people. And they take out the spouse. The spouse has to care for them. So you kind of alter two lives, okay? And it's a horrible thing. And lo and behold, it spread a couple of years ago to the west side of Hawaii. And I thought, wow, someday or slowly it'll spread. And I got a call from the coffee pickers. They said, well, we know you can eat the slug and get it up into your brain, but can it pierce blood? So what are we talking about here? They said, well, we reach up to pick the coffee. We pull down what we think are leaves or beans, and it's full of the slug. I said, that's impossible. It wasn't there last year. Well, it's there now. And their hands have little cuts, and they're worried that the parasite might come in. So, it had spread that quickly up into the Kohala coast.
Wow.
And so when I was in Hawaii, Big Island for the international conference, they said, oh, we got to expand the support group. I thought it was just East Hawaii. They said, no. All the new cases coming out of Kohala and Kokona and all that. Worldwide, this is a pandemic, just a slow one. Okay, the rats are spreading it into any local slug. So it spread into San Diego, New Orleans, Texas. You get the reports coming out of the East Coast. The rats take it. This local slug spread it. And the sentinel, like who's going to get it first? That you see it in puppies. So all the veterinarians are in Missouri, all the St. Louis, all the guys say, oh, you see the puppy, the paralysis, crawling, usually the hind legs, and it is just phenomenal. It's very difficult to treat, not too hard to diagnose, but once you see it, a little late, huh? So our job on Maui was to put up barriers so the slugs don't crawl into our greens. I think we could barrier orchards too. So the slug will climb up into banana trees, papaya trees, but mostly it's greens, kale, lettuce, all that stuff you're supposed to eat. All that stuff you're supposed to eat. All that stuff you're supposed to eat. Okay, there, I said that. But in Hawaii, they said, well, just tell people, be careful. Yeah, sure. You know how small these things are? And by the way, this aggressive slug, the semi-slug, when they looked at it, I think 78% are carrying the parasite. And you don't need big doses to affect your brain permanently. So our job was to set up the barriers. So 2 years ago, we set up our lab. We brought in the aggressive slug, from Hana, because it's in Hana. And by God, Pang, don't let that get out in Wailuku. Yeah, well, we didn't. It's in our lab. And we tried all kinds of things: copper, broken glass, oil, salt. Of course, salt works, but every time it rains, you're going to re-salt your border. So we put up an electric fence. Hey, look, I have some sitting around this is not stage. We put up this electric fence. What's that, man? This is made in China. It's plastic and stainless steel bands, 25 cents a yard. Hey, another 25 cents for shipment. And you connect it to a 6-volt battery, 6 volt, plus, minus, plus, minus. So you have 3 chances to shock it.
What's the length of the 6 volts will handle? What kind of length of?
That's a very good question, Jason. That was phase 2 for the stem cell kids to tell me what voltage drops. I conservatively think a 6 volt can handle 1 acre. That's 200, 200, 200, 200. Don't say it, but according to my calculations, it can handle 10 acres. But a lot of guys say, come on, Pang, just put a photovoltaic thing to put a pulse every 6 volt. Fine. Okay, so you electrify it, and the slugs, they have to cross, and they'll get shocked, and it will repel them. We saw this in the lab. We took it to the field up in Kula. We've been up there maybe 6 months with the Kula Community Association. We put it around their lettuce, and the farmers are happy because the lettuce isn't damaged by any slug. Of course, they know that the real thing is the health issue. So they are up in Kula. We don't have the aggressive slug, but we can stop any slug so far. Of course, we'll take it to Hana and the Big Island next. Quite interesting. This thing was developed by China in their escargot farms to keep the valuable escargot from climbing out. So they touch two things, they get shocked, and they fall back. Check this out, Jason. You'll love this. They told us never connect it to anything higher than 6 volt. Like, don't put it in 12 volt. And the people in Hawaii said, no, we want to kill them. We don't want to just shock them. You do that, and of course, you see what happens, right?
Burn up.
The shock is so bad, they get paralyzed, and then they start bridging on each other's bodies. Okay. The bodies, after a while, it dries, and it's not conductive.
So there's the moat. It's like walking over the moat.
Walking over the bodies. Yeah. And when you see these areas, Jason, these are invasive slugs. They're like waves. You can't have them crawling on each other's bodies. So then they just kind of fall back down outside. And the good thing is, a lot of people said, no, you got to kill them. No. The frosting on the cake is when they get shocked, slugs communicate by scent and taste along mucus trails, okay? So when they put down a mucus trail, it either means sex, food, or danger. That's kind of like, I'm sure there's all these subtle things, but in general. So when it gets irritated, it retreats and it puts down mucus. And a lot of slugs never challenge the electric fence again because the mucus keeps them at bay. Hey. Well, I mean, you don't want this thing shocking all night. You wear out your battery. Then I do have to connect it.
Can you create mucus trails from their mucus? Have you been able to harness their mucus to route them?
As soon as we saw it in the lab, remember this was put in a lab, they have to crawl out.
Yeah.
We put in 7 at a time, put it in indirect light to make them move. They get shocked a few times. Then they put down a donut of mucus that they will not cross. The UH called us in 1 week and said, can we have dibs on the patent to the mucus? I said, no, because you're not part of the project. And besides, we're working just on the shock. What if it rains and the mucus goes away? Whatever. Then somebody accuses us when we shock the slugs. We compared to controls. Controls are crawling out. It's not plugged in. They're just crawling out. But when you electrify it, nothing crawls out. We were accused that this electric barrier is not it. Why not? Nobody crossed the barrier. Oh, after a while, they put on mucus. So it was a mucus. I'm sorry, but it was electricity that made a mucus. Mucus is a frosting on the cake. If they ever get out through the mucus, they'll get shocked back. I mean, come on. You get it, right? I mean, it's whatever it is. And now it really, really does work in the field. And everyone's fascinated. And I keep texting in our summary report. We want to share. And the international committee is kind of watching this, by internet, like, whoa, good. Hey, ready to go to the Big Island, to really get challenged? We're ready.
Well, that sounds like a great win. Who wanted the patent? The state wanted the patent?
UH, the college. And it's just like, come on, we barely got our feet off the ground,
And besides, can't it be public domain? Wouldn't it be? Aren't there certain things that that should be shared openly?
Well,
really,
that's what they claim, Jason. A lot of guys, say, I want to take the patent for the public so other people don't patent it. But if I control it, I can make it cheap or give it up. Yeah, that's what they say. But when there's, can you sign here that you'll never make more than 5 cents, per kilometer? I mean, really? Oh, well, no, that's just not the norm. Well, then I'm sorry. But so it's called a self-defense patent. We take it to protect the public. Now, people said, well, why don't I take the patent? It's a lot of humbug and a lot of trouble. Okay. Besides, I really don't think you could patent it. This was the Chinese thing to keep slugs in. They're just using it to keep slugs out.
There's so many things we can talk about. When you say Chinese, it makes me think of early in this year when I saw this video of Dr. Nanshan Zhang, who was a big deal doctor there in China, talking at a European Respiration Society conference online talking about how hydrogen and oxygen mix. That machine behind me is the Chinese model. There's a guy in Kula making them. I think I shared with you, but and they're having great success reducing inflammation in alveoli, and it doesn't get shared. How are you able to get tech in all this time? Is technology still being shared? Or why would somebody be accusing you of stuff? I mean, I'm like always wondering what's the instigation to stop free flow of important information or controlling patents. I mean, to me, it's unclear whether it's a one force or it's just a nature of humans in that position. I don't know.
Well, what happens is you get guys in government like me. I've been in government 44 years, and we don't make too much, And okay, and after 40 years, you look at the guys in private industry and you say, oh, those guys, 6 figures, 8 figures, they're on the patents. So you think, why not me? Well, typically, the government folks have been under this kind of mantra. If you do a good job in government, and maybe sometimes bend the rules in our favor, but just do good science. As soon as you get out of government, we can't hire you for a year or 2 years because that looks like collusion, right? Well, just sit tight for 2 years. When we hire you on 3 and 4, man, I don't make up more than that. So repeatedly, I come from the Walter Reed Institute of Research, the Army Research, some really good guys, powerful scientists. They were lured away by industry as soon as they reached their 20 years. And like when I reached my 20 years, I came here, one government job to another. And, after a while, my wife said, isn't this enough? I mean, are you going for the big bucks or something? I have no idea. Some people, they can't possibly spend what they've got, but it's just a game, who got the most.
But we all die. We all die and give it all back at the
yes.
lawn. So it always amazes me. But do you think people are starting to learn this a little more cooperation? It's very confusing here when I see like the thing about the second test. The thing about COVID.
Yes.
People come in, and then 3 days later, if they want, and we give them a food coupon to give them a chance to take a second test. Why didn't we make everyone take a second test if we know that?
Because there's 2 kinds of people who get the second test. The first question is, if I get the second test, are you going to act on it? If it's positive, I got to stay in isolation for 10 days. And all the people with me who traveled with me, they got to go into quarantine. And their quarantine starts, the 14-day quarantine starts the last day that I am infectious. So let's say you pick me up and I was symptomatic 2 days ago. Well, I got 8 more days. And on day 7, that's when the other guys with me start their 14 days in quarantine, medical quarantine. You ruin their vacation.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's going to come for the test? Guys who are staying here anyway, returning residents. Yeah, 14 days, I'm here anyway. I was going to live here. Or writers, they come in for 6 months. Yeah, okay, free. I don't mind if I have to stay away. I want to be away anyway. So the guys who aren't going to be here, they're not going to get tested.
So why wouldn't that be changed by a strong leader, mayor?
You mean to make them get tested?
Yeah.
Oh, because now
it'll destroy tourism. Aren't we trying to?
Yeah. Wait, who's going to? Well, in Big Island, it was mandatory. It was mandatory for a second test on arrival. And you think, well, they're not self-selecting, it's mandatory. They're self-selecting by not going to the Big Island. Okay. Now, maybe there's a niche where you get all the writers who don't mind being tested. They're going to be 6 months. But now you're stuck with that niche visitor population. If that niche is large enough, you can survive, like Kauai. Oh, we take the writers, man, the poets who are going to be here anyway. That's good. Maui, come on, we take the big weddings, 4 days, hug and kiss and goodbye. We don't have that kind of niche. I guess we could promote it.
Well, but and I know that our moves toward aggressive self-sustainability involving food security, involving creation of diversifying of our industry, educate people to be dealing online and be competitive globally. Why aren't these things being like put up there and be our, I don't know.
Because that what is immediately in front of our face that can pay us the most was tourism. And if you say, you're asking me to give up something immediate, for it is true, what you said, better, sustainable, it's better for everything, I feel better, yeah, but I quickly look at what's immediately here and I go for that, short term. I mean, it's like the short term versus long term, right?
So you've been long-term at what you're doing. Do you
Yeah,
see
wait,
progress through this? I mean, through the long term? I've been
yeah,
on what I'm doing for a long time.
yeah,
It's
well, that's why I won't give up
measurement
this no matter what COVID we have. I mean, this keeps me going and we keep getting positive results. And I got students now and they're kind of on it. There's one more thing I should talk about though, that's even bigger.
Okay.
Hawaii, we are obligated to replace all our cesspools. We have
Yeah.
70,000 cesspools and the alternative, the viable alternative is a septic tank. The septic tank, come on, costs $35,000 to $45,000 if you can get the backhoe into these old closed buildings to dig the septic tank, okay? But that's what we had to do. And we were so late in doing this. We were supposed to do this 8 years ago. They started fining people. Who's fining them? The Department of Health. Well, it's okay, Jason, because we fine them, get the money, and give them back the money to put in the septic tank. Okay. So, it's okay. We're just kicking your butt to put it in. 70,000 septic cesspools times, what do you want to say, $35,000? Come on, that's like 2 billion, 2.5 billion. Okay, fine. Meanwhile, parallel to all these hearings, Maui's got a bunch too. Our cesspools are immediately polluting the downstream water in Makawao. When they drill a well, you're getting too much pollutants, nitrates. Okay. Parenthetically, that injection well issue of Lahaina that went to the U.S. Supreme Court, that was an issue of nitrates from the human sewage. Too much nitrates killing the reef. And it was ruled by the Supreme Court, yeah, we don't care what old approval you had. We don't care if you spread it out. We don't care if it puts here and comes out there. You're the problem. And it's true. I mean, come on. You're killing the reef or the near reef, right? So the cesspool issue is worth about $2.2 billion one time, $2.2 billion to the state. The injection well and killing the reef is worth another 2.2 billion. Because what's your solution, Jason, to the injection wells? Run that damn pipe, the sewage drop off like 2 miles out, hoping to dilute it so you don't kill the near reef. Okay, I get it. Lo and behold, here comes an alternative solution suggested by the alternate lifestyle guides on the Big Island. We went to the hearings on the Big Island. You go, hey, what about the compost toilet? Man, the nitrates, it's from human waste. It doesn't get into the groundwater. It doesn't get into the ocean. Nitrates in water, fresh water that you plan to drink, or ocean that your reefs grow in, it shouldn't be there. Nitrates belong on the soil, and then it can go up to the air. That's N2. CO2 you don't put in the air. That's global warming. But nitrogen, N2, belongs in the air. Okay, so you just got to put it on soil, and the bacteria will convert it to go up in the air. So just don't put it in the water. So the composting guy says, oh, we got this, man. We just, remember, half the nitrogen from urine, right? Urine, feces. Okay. Just go put it out in the yard. And we thought, wow, that's cheap. Composting toilet, what, $700? Just put it there, man. I'll put one right in your house in an hour. Yeah, but you got to clean out the compost material. You put in the material, sawdust or mulch, and you take it out. Well, how often? Oh, like every 3 weeks. Well, old guys say like, well, I can't do this. So the young guys were at the hearing on Maui. We will do it. We will save the planet and come out exchange the compost for all you old guys who don't want to do this. Okay, how long will that last? Oh, I don't know. Well, the old guys like us, Jason, I don't want you young guys in my house. Oh, well, okay. So that kind of was the right idea, but we cannot change compost every 3 to 4 weeks. Along comes Berkeley, University of Berkeley, School of Engineering, Lawrence Livermore Lab. These guys, Lawrence Livermore Lab, you got a problem? If they can't fix it, nobody can. Okay.
Sandia. Yeah, I got you.
Okay. In India, they have an alternative system. They said, don't you dare call it composting toilet. It's not composting. It's worm. And everyone says, oh, worms. But these guys have set up 100,000 units in India, mostly taking the human waste, processing it so it's germ-free, cholera, Shigella, typhoid fever. And they notice when they treat it like that, it also drops the nitrate level. That's the one we want. They take it to Stanford, takes it to Haiti to put it in. And it's called the greening of Haiti. The stuff is germ-free, hey, and then they put it out. And it's like black gold. You watch the conversion of Haiti into the greenness. We want it not for the germs, to remove the nitrate. So they come here, we give presentations, they've been here like 9 months, and lo and behold, they set up a system, costs $1,200 to set up, including labor. All elements are here on Maui, even the composting worms, we got them from Haiku. They're the organic composting worms. They do better in human waste, Jason. These are Berkeley guys, man. They set it up, they put in a camera in the, you can film at night to watch the worm population increase. Then they outflow it. For research purpose, we continue to outflow into the cesspool, just in case it's not good. But of course, we measure the outflow, and we are dropping the nitrate levels by 95%.
Wow.
And the septic tank, it's expensive, but they only drop it maybe 50%. Not only is it better, it's cheaper. And now we can approach the upcountry cesspools. I forgot how many, 20,000, because of the freshwater pollution. Because when you drill the well down on Baldwin Avenue, comes out borderline high nitrates. When we found that they could drop it low, we thought, can you approach the reef? They can put in a big system to handle all the sewage waste at once. They can put in a household system or a big system, 100,000 to 4 guys, okay? If you can treat the sewage collection in West Maui, then you continue to put it in the ocean, but you have removed enough of the nitrate. How much nitrate you gotta remove? For drinking water, you gotta get down to 10 units per ml or whatever, 10 units per ml. Now, ocean, every creature in the ocean, it tolerates like humans, maybe 10 per ml. But for the reef, you better get down to 0.1. Whoa, but can they do it? So here we are, we're dropping it very low. I mean, low enough to drink, but for the reef. So lo and behold, we bring on, researchers from UH Maui. And lo and behold, out of the blue, helping us run these samples is a PhD, recently minted PhD, local girl, Texas A&M, comes back, she comes back here, all set to contribute, but with the science to test all the levels of all the contaminants of their filter. Berkeley guys love her, and she's new. And the chancellor, Louis, goes, yeah, we got Andrea. We got Andrea, she's kind of new. You know, we're forming the Department of Oceanography. I said, oh, so we have to address the reef? He goes, well, no, anything. She does water too. Help her address the drinking water first, but it's the same pollutant, then maybe we can address the reef. This is like God smiled on us, Jason. She, before we contacted her 4 months ago to help, was measuring the nitrate pollution of Lahaina. Because with the drop in the COVID visitors, drop in visitors because COVID, the pollution dropped 60%. The nitrate pollution dropped 60%. Well, is that enough to control it on the reef? Well, it depends on the currents, dilution, right? You drop the amount you put in, you dilute it. So she's watching these levels, you know, the drop in the amount plus the current. She's measuring it with her team. Lo and behold, we come on board and said, hey, we can really drop that. Want to drop it some more? So now it's kind of fascinating with our drop or Berkeley's drop or whatever. It's us, Berkeley, and her representing the college. Maybe we can get that level so that it's diluted enough to solve the reef issues. And it's not just here. It's Big Island, a lot of reefs, right? Hilo Bay and all that stuff.
Well, you know, that's why I always say, you know, we as a self-sustainable model with guys like you and this idea of wanting to be are an example to the world. I don't mean to change the subject because I'm looking, we got maybe 20 minutes.
You're right.
I think when looking and thinking, someone dialed in, they're going to think I'm going to talk only about COVID. Let's give COVID a fair look. I gave it, you know, I could have interviewed you last week, but I thought, let's let Lanai develop and let's see the tourists here a little longer before I have Dr. Pang on. Now we are, what, 10 days, 12, 15, since tourists are back, and then the Lanai thing. What's your hit on all that's happening here in Maui?
Okay. When people open to tourism, like we open to tourism, we watch Alaska and we watch Tahiti. And you really start to see the spike about 3 or 4 weeks in. Now we've been out 2 weeks, because we did October 15th, right? So we're really expecting some rises in this whole thing about this coming week, okay? And about 5 or 6 weeks in, you see such high uncontrollable levels. You just want to hit yourself in the head to say, what have we done? What have we done? Lanai, you never quite know the tourist load on Lanai. They have people flying into these hotels. I mean, I don't think that's local people. So you're never quite sure who these people are and how many and how long they stay. Obviously, it was brought in by visitors, okay, to Lanai, right? And then it grew in the local community. But that's what they see in Tahiti. I follow Tahiti the closest. Other people follow Alaska. But once it comes in, there's an explosive thing into your community about week 4 or 5.
So it's still too young to call. So
but Jason, we're seeing some stuff. We're seeing stuff. The visitors who come in, they're testing positive. You know, they come in with a pending result. Oh, look, the result's back. Oh, I'm positive. They're taxing our quarantine sites, okay? And not only is it them, the positive case, but all these guys traveling with you, how many are there? 3. Oh, you got to quarantine 14 days from the time that
vacation. Can you send them back? You can't even send them back?
You cannot send them back because they're medical isolation and quarantine. If it was a travel quarantine, like you didn't have a test, get back, go home, you didn't get a test. But if it's positive or you're really exposed, no sending back until you pass your time.
How do we protect ourselves? What do we do?
Well, we and Kauai and Big Island and Oahu are seeing a lot people positive on our shores. And so they're going to appeal. I think they already did to the governor. Can you change it so that you got to have a negative test when you come in, not a pending test? Too many pending tests are turning positive. Yeah. Now, in order to get a negative test, he had to extend the time, give you a little more time to get the result. So instead of getting the sample 3 days before you come, they thought, how about 5 days before you come? Well, the farther you push back the sample, I mean, take an extreme measure. Hey, Jason, I got a test 2 months before I came. Well, that doesn't mean anything. In the subsequent 2 months, you got infected up the azoos. But in general, the farther you push the test back, the less value it has. So, you know, I'm forever trying to say, well, 3 days is kind of short. You want to push it to 5. How about 4? I didn't hear anybody say 4, you know, so, okay.
So what are we going to do here when this explodes, or if it explodes? and we don't have the ability to hold the quarantine people. We are being taxed at the hospital. People's home care is not enough. I don't know. What do we do?
Well, here, when they open to tourism, come on, let's open to tourism. We're dying. Fine, let's open. But why does the faucet have to be fully open or fully shut? Can we like turn it down a bit? So we set up a study to find out how many guys are really bringing it in, despite that one pre-travel test. We know you got inoculated, exposed after you got the test, or a couple of days before, where you couldn't have picked it up anyway. So we set up a departure study. On departure, we won't mess with your travel plans, because on the departure from Maui, I'll get a test, I'll get the result the next day, I'll phone it to you, or I'll put it anonymously by code. I need to know how many people are infected. I will not mess with your travel plans. But if you're positive, maybe tell the hotel you stayed at, there was a case. It wasn't Jason. It was case number 1729. They were exposed, okay? I need to know how many positive guys are breaking through the system. We calculate that if it's 10 a day, we'll do a sample and try to see if we get 10 a day. I don't think Maui can withstand 10 a day.
So where do we go? I mean,
well, I'm going to ask them to titrate it down. If 2,000 visitors a day bring in 10 a day, I'm going to ask you, fix this, like turn down the tap. Before COVID, we were getting 8,000 a day. Well, like I said, man, if it's too much, can you please close the tap? Oh no, this is an all or none. That was never on the table. If you told me it was all or none, I would have said, I insist on another second test while you're here. But it's all kind of vague. We'll deal with it when we see it. Okay.
Well, now that you know that and you've made this really publicly clear, what doesn't that give our mayor, governor, whoever you have in, pause to say, hey, I want to get ahead of this. Put something in. What's the delay here?
I think they're quite sincere. They said, well, then do the study. Get your study going. Yeah. I mean, I will get it going. It took a while. We're the last study to get going, but we have a good volunteer rate. I mean, think if I did a study on day 5, not on departure, and I was going to do it, and I was going to keep the results confidential in your little diary, and you turn it over to me as you leave, then I get participation. But people said, no. If you got a test, you got to act on it. Well, then no one's going to volunteer for the study. Okay. Well, then we'll make it mandatory. Well, no one's going to come here. You got to get a representative sample of the people who come here. And if
shouldn't we be doing the safe testing until we're done with the example? Why are we going for nothing until you find results? Why is that?
No, we do have something. Yeah, we have a pre-travel test. One pre-travel test. Some people say that's pretty good. Some people say it's pretty good, but not good enough.
Not good enough.
And it depends on the absolute value, Jason. If normally we take 8,000 a day before COVID, and you give me 1,000, I think I can handle that. But now we're approaching what, 1,500? Well, counting the returning resident, we're approaching 3,000. Well, I mean, people said, well, then get going, Pang. Why don't you go do your study? Fine, I will. But we ran into like ethical issues. Yeah, you took a test and you rigged it so you didn't tell it until the guy left on the airplane. Why didn't you do it earlier to warn the airplane? Well, what if I wasn't doing anything? He'd get on the plane anyway. So we had to clear it ethically with all these people, UCLA, I don't know, man.
Why are we waiting until you have to do a study, whatever the ethics are? Why aren't we implementing the safety measure before the study? And then if the study finds that we can handle this, then they respond. Why are we?
Off the way? Because, for example, what safety measure would you like? Would you like a second test on island? I was going to have 3 tests on island, but knowing that you're going to act on the result, ruin people's vacation, nobody's coming to Maui. And now you would say, this works for the kind of guys who come to Maui, which is like 1/10 the market. The
Well,
guys who come to Maui don't.
what about the people of Maui, those that, whether they come or not, are here? Doesn't that?
Well, that's the other argument. The ones of us who are here that aren't so dependent on tourism, oh, it's easy for you to speak. You know, you have food on the table, but there's this huge sector of society, directly or indirectly, right or wrong, are tied to tourism.
Well,
You
can't
know,
we all, isn't this the time when we all should step up and really implement the social programs to address those people and bring them into a whole new thing? I don't
yeah,
get it.
but we got so behind the eight ball. A lot of those social programs depend on taxing of the tourist industry. We got no money even to support anymore. I mean, everyone's broke. Hey, even by study, Jason, I'm only going to do 300 people. And people are arguing, well, how much is it going to cost? $60 a test? Can you make it like 40? They got so little money, they can't even invest in something that might save them a lot of money. But Jason, I mean, I kind of, when they're nickel and diming my test, and I'm sitting to save them billions of dollars because of cesspool issues, the rat lung barriers, you know, I just kind of shake my head. You know, it's like, what? I understand you're nickel and diming because you're broke or we're broke. But come on, guys. You know, if you want to invest for a good return and you don't even have the money to make the investment, wow, how
Yeah.
bad is the situation?
Well, how about all the people don't have any money to pay the rent, and the Congress is wondering whether they should cut another check for $1,000 or unemployment. Other countries are keeping economies going by giving in dollars to all their people. We are worried about destroying our currency, balance of budget. We want people left. That's like, I don't
Yeah,
get it. I don't.
but that's why the election results. I mean, you hate to get on the bandwagon, but this in the last 3 hours or something, when they declared Biden the winner, hey, our COVID control program was so up in the air. Like we got these guys helping. The feds are bringing in National Guard, and they go, well, the National Guard contract ends December 1st. Well, it ends. And I said, no, it doesn't end. It depends who gets elected. And I I don't want to like get on the bandwagon, but already Trump was going to cut all these COVID. He doesn't even believe in COVID, and we're struggling to try to control it. And I just want to. I don't love or hate the guy, but a guy who insists on counting votes or recounting votes, but cannot count COVID cases. Wow, you can count sometimes, but not other times. We were going down the tubes. I mean, he don't want to do testing because you might find more cases. Oh God, we got to do testing. Well, let's bring out a test that's not so sensitive to show we're doing testing, but not finding cases. What? What? There's no organized government thing about testing. No organized government thing. He's fighting with these scientific guys. I don't love them myself, but at least listen to them. Show me you listen to them. Quote their stuff before you disagree. So it made a big deal 2 hours ago where at least Biden said, you know, the path to the economy is controlling COVID. It might not be all or none. Can we just open the economy a little bit while we control COVID? I agree with that. I mean, it's not first we got to fix all of COVID, then we open the economy. No, you can do it a little bit. I mean, here we did this, then we this.
So I'm glad that there's someone like yourself who speaks out. Like when I hear the mayor saying, no, we don't want to scare people. Well, you got to tell them the truth, you know?
Yeah. No, and
thank you for being here and standing up for us.
Didn't we do this in the dengue days on Maui? When we discovered dengue in East Maui, the tourist authority was furious. Stop scaring away the tourists with dengue. And then once we kind of controlled it, well, let's announce that we had it and you controlled it. What? Then a bunch of tourists were furious after we controlled it. I'm glad you controlled it, Dr. Pang, but you didn't tell us what was going on in East Maui. Hey, we didn't want to scare the tourists. What? I mean, you know, after a while, when they find out you withhold things because of this, they said, what, you think we're stupid? We understand. Just tell us what's going on.
Right. I'm with you. You know, we've been talking an hour. Your schedule is busy. I hope we can do this again and give you a chance to share more because why? Because whenever I speak to you, I feel like we're all getting educated on good things we're doing. I'm so glad that you have the spirit to bring out and still stay positive on what we're doing and what we can do. Because I believe we can all handle and solve this thing. Even the tourism thing, I'd like to have
Yes.
the whole thing change the way we talk about responsibly shift our economy. Tourism doesn't have to be the gigantic piece. You know, when Josh Green talked about taking one of the hotels and buying it so we could handle some of the housing problem, we got to do something. We got the spaces already here. Let's do something. Let's do it. And I'm glad that you, like I say, I'm glad there's you standing here. If something's going on, I expect you're going to share it with us so we can all be part of helping the solution happen. And that's really beautiful.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this in maybe 10 days because that's when the climb might be. And of course, we'll be having little different discussions, but
yeah,
it's the big picture here.
Well, I'm glad to capture some of your time, and you know, you're a hero to a lot of people. You might find a few people think you're a goat, like you say.
Hey,
Tell me the same with me. I could go off on other subjects why I'm really uncomfortable what's happening about homelessness, nowhere to put homeless. I got a friend who you know who's now on Molokai, homeless, can't walk, and there's no help, nowhere to be. It's like, what the heck? Can't we handle the basics in that area? That's
yeah,
another show.
but the tax base is broke. I mean, until yes, we tied it to tourism. Now, if we ever get out of this, I hope people learn their lesson. Don't tie it to tourism so much because it might turn off one day.
But isn't it also true that that's the piece where I say, okay, if you see someone that's hurting, help them. If you see something that's going on, don't turn your back. You have no money. You are there. This is where the heart comes in. That's why I'm, like I say, you're in the Department of Health, but I feel like you're an advocate for the people. And I know you make positions many times independent of being in government. Thank you for that. And thank you for all that you're really doing for all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Lorrin Pang from the Department of Health here in Maui, and beautiful and wonderful man. All you out there in about 10 days, we're going to do another one of these. So
10 days is good.
And we'll see where we're at. And we're all obviously praying for the best. Keep wearing your mask and do all the responsible things.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you.
Celebrate a little bit today. At least we got somebody in charge.
Those are great things. And I was going to talk to you about Monsanto and Bayer now and what they're doing and what you've seen there, and NRF2 gene receptors. We got fun to talk about, but
yes,
I say fun. Those are, I'm into solutions. I'm not really one who's into focusing on the problems. I see solutions, and that's what's so great about you. You're constantly looking to find a way to make it right, which is great. Thank you.
Okay, the solutions aren't that hard. No, I mean, they're not that hard.
No,
okay.
Especially when we have the will.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Aloha.
Bye.